Let me start out by introducing myself. My name is Blumel, and I'm president of an organization called U.S. Term Limits. We're a single-issue organization based in Fairfax, Virginia. I myself live in West Palm Beach, Florida, and came up here for this event.
And the weather.
And the weather. U.S. Term Limits has been around since 1992, and the purpose of the organization is to promote, enact, and defend term limits laws around the country. The reason why I'm here today is to recognize the fine example being set by Senator Sam Brownback. Now, before this morning, I didn't know the senator personally, but I knew a good deal about his character because of this action. In 1998, the senator signed, put pen to paper as a believer in the American tradition of rotation in office, and signed a pledge that he would serve 2 terms in the U.S. Senate and then step aside and let a fellow Kansan take that seat. And today, he's officially announcing his intention to do so. Now, in a perfect world, this should be a completely unremarkable event, right? A politician makes unambiguous promise and then keeps it. But of course, in our world, politicians face an enormous amount of temptation and pressure to distance themselves from the promises made, to distance themselves from the voters that they represent. So, in light of this simple act of integrity is worthy of special note. Right here is the petition, or the pledge, I'm sorry, that he signed back in 1998. Now, he had first verbally voiced his intention to do this as early as 1996. But 1998, when he entered the Senate, he signed this pledge with us. And according to our recollection, he approached us to get a copy of the pledge, signed it, had it witnessed in his office, and sent it back to us, where we've kept it since. And then we blew it up for this today. Since then, of course, he served 2 distinguished terms in the U.S. Senate, each time winning with a larger percentage of the vote, and enjoys favorable approval ratings. However, he, at age 52, which is a baby in senatorial terms, where the average is over 60, is retiring from this U.S. Senate and is going to start a new chapter of his life. Now, in doing this, he joins an elite crowd of other congressmen that have made this move, including Jim DeMint, Governor Mark Sanford, Tom Coburn, and others. Now, a lot of other people have, in the Congress, have signed or verbally made such a pledge, and to continue to serve in the Congress past the pledge date. There's a good number of them. And that's why it's so important to recognize those politicians that stand up for their word and follow through with what they promised. Now, most Americans agree with Senator Brownback on the issue of term limits and rotation in office. National polling done this year, published in October, shows that 83% of Americans support the idea of term limitation for public officials generally. Now, since we've been around since 1992, we've done lots of polls, and we found that it's popular amongst people in all parties or no party. It's popular amongst just about any demographic you can pull together except politicians and lobbyists. But we've never had a number as high as 83%. This is the highest polling it's ever done. And the 2008 election results seem to confirm this. As far as we know, there's 15 jurisdictions in the United States where term limits were on the ballot in November. Out of the 15, 14 either enacted or reaffirmed their term limits. And the 15th is a close case, how you want to call that, because in the 15th case, it was in San Antonio, Texas, where they only had a 4-year term limit on their city commissioners. And the voters increased it to the more traditional 8-year term limit that U.S. term limits, and actually most Americans, judging by the vote, support. So we're satisfied with all 15 term limits elections around the country this year. Every case where the politicians tried to extend the term limits past 8 years, they were soundly defeated this time around, as they traditionally have been. Where the voters really want to see term limits, I know this from talking about this issue all the time, is on Congress. That's a tough nut because you have to go through the Congress in order to achieve it. I would encourage anyone that feels strongly about this issue and wants to weigh in on it to go to the website of U.S. term limits at termlimits.org and sign our online petition calling for that. Why do voters support this idea? There's many reasons. I think the one that resonates the most with people is that term limits ensure regular, competitive elections and that bring government closer to the people. Make the legislatures better reflect the views and moods of the people. In the words of Thomas Jefferson, who believed that congressional term limits should have been part of the U.S. Constitution, I quote, "To prevent every danger which might arise to American freedom from continuing too long in office, it is earnestly recommended that we set an obligation on the holder of the office to go out after a certain period." Senator Brownback agrees with this. But I would reiterate that Senator Brownback is under no such obligation to leave the U.S. Senate. There are no term limits on the U.S. Congress, at least not yet. As a man with integrity, Senator Brownback, his only obligation is to himself and to his constituents to whom he made the pledge. And today, he's fulfilling it. And so for that, U.S. Term Limits wants to officially recognize him and thank him for doing so.